The energetics that are coming in are so powerful that if people don't have a place or way or haven't cleared their pathways to accept it, they go into perturbation. And that's why there's so much emotional problems in people and mental problems, because we're getting upgraded and they haven't aligned themselves to the upgrade.
Have you noticed any unsettling moments of perturbation? And how about any ways you might be insulating yourself mentally, emotionally, or spiritually against overwhelm or even transformation? In this final episode of the series, Navigating the New Energetics, we continue the adventure with Daniel Strawn in what he describes as an organic creation method to this awareness we call life. Here he shares what he was told during his near-death experience regarding seeing the result of the wrongful human process, seeing it like smog surrounding the blue princess, the earth, and the new domain of pure potentiality. You'll also hear about the importance of mental stability, common sense, and bringing ourselves back into balance. So relax and enjoy the unique and enticing flavors of this conversation wrap with well-being generator, sacred artisan and artist, and teacher Daniel Strawn.
We're calling in all of these importances, and you can speak about the silver chalice, and the silver chalice will show up because we are being tuning forks.
Yes, we are.
And all of these are things that go on within human life and on the planet. And there is a method, an organic creation method to this awareness we call life. I haven't even started talking about what the planet's aura is and understanding the laws at play that govern the relationship between the human electromagnetic and the planet's electromagnetic field. That's a very important, timely subject.
Yes.
I've had angelic dispensation information about its dynamics with the planet and human beings and the promise of the liberation of the human spirit. Okay, it's important to start addressing what we pay into our mentality about things and the importance of being present and cool and balanced, because the very foundation and structure of our being is under attack to keep it from waking up.
Yeah. When you talk about cool, what I think of is peaceful. Is that how you would describe?
Cool is like a 56 Chevy.
Yeah, I know.
But cool is electrically cool.
Yes.
When you think about electrical wiring and stuff, right? And I think like a cosmic electrician. So when we talk about insulation, it's very important. Do you know the term perturbation? When you get perturbed?
Yes, I know that.
It's the same thing as perturbation, which is this can is designed to hold so many watts of electricity. And once it gets past its design capacity, if you put too much in there, it'll cause perturbation and it'll start shaking and rattling and rolling, right? Because it's not designed to hold the force. And this is a real world problem right now because the energetics that are coming in are so powerful that if people don't have a place or way or haven't cleared their pathways to accept it, they go into perturbation. And that's why there's so much emotional problems in people and mental problems. It's because we're getting upgraded and they haven't aligned themselves to the upgrade. So this is leading to the famous Hobi pictograph of the two pathways. And it comes to a point where there's a bifurcation. That bifurcation is dictated by your ability to process, right, the new electrics. Now, people will say, well, I'll just get along with the old. No, you won't. And like woodworkers, because as a woodworker, you have 110 powered tools, like hand tools, like a little sander, it's 110 out of the wall. And then you have 220 powered, right? For the machines. And the 220 power has much thicker insulation around the wires to hold a higher force, right? So people haven't been building the right kind of insulations to be able to hold the force.
Yeah.
And the insulation, your development work There's self-development work, right? There's personal development, human development, self-development, spiritual development, planetary development, creational development, but it's all about development, which is like, how can we up the power, right? And
Mm.
many people have trod the road of the spiritual path.
Yeah.
And for thousands of years, the signal of being a searcher was like, it was driving people, right? I remember in my journey, I think really, I mean, I'd heard about all these things and I'd seen a lot of strange stuff at an early age, but the things that are actually good insulators are like, do you have common sense? Are you mentally stable? Right? Can you bring yourself back into balance? Do you
It
have a
just,
reasonable understanding about the extent of your ego? We need ego, like a car you drive around in the 21st century. But what we're talking about now isn't just the individual journey. We're talking about the collective journey. When I started, it was like there was one or two teachers or ideas. And there was a lot of, in the 60s, people left, well, you got to go to India and this and that, right? Now there's so much coming in about all these spiritual ideas.
yeah.
So there was the searcher. There's a tarot card called the searcher. Eventually you reach, the searcher reaches land's end. And so what we're talking about is when we were talking about threshold experiences in spiritual development as an individual, we're increasingly experiencing threshold experiences in the spiritual development of humanity. And we're learning as we're going.
Yeah. We don't know how to begin to even understand what those threshold experiences are.
I remember with Mel, with my dad, the
Yeah.
beautiful Uncle Mel.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think we were just sitting and we were like watching the news or something. I was timing out. We were watching TV and we were watching the news. And it was like, the crisis in 19, and it was like these things that like created a shockwave throughout the world, like 9/11 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so the powers that be, they say, look at this.
Yeah.
And you go, ah, I'm spinning. A couple weeks later, it's like, look at this. And it's like another shockwave. Oh, and these things tend to knock not just individuals, but whole countries, and it goes
Yeah.
into the race. And a really good, important read for this time is The Shock Doctrine by
Mm.
Naomi Klein. You got to read it because it's explaining the dark side's manipulation of how they manipulate energetics in the world.
Wow. Okay.
Naomi Klein, super bright woman. Naomi Klein, The Shock Doctrine. So at any rate, my dad and I are watching TV, and I said, did they resolve the last one? And no, because it's so in your face. So what they're going is, this is in your face. This is in your face. This is in your face. And this is the importance of taking a few steps back,
Yes.
realizing these are still frames in a movie. That people have bought into the trauma. They're reacting to the shock doctrine trauma of each one of these incidents, which are written and used to distract us from what's important, essentially, and to steal our soul.
Yeah.
Hard to say. I'm not a judgmental person, but I tend to have a lot of energy into discernment of what's going on. How does it feel? How does it look? How does it smell? Where is this going? Who's doing it? Not because I'm interested in rooting up evil, but I just want to, they're called radar. The individual developer will become aware different frequency bandwidths after a while.
Yeah.
And right now, it's like I feel dissociated, people who have been in my circle. And because I'm getting a lot of insight on, I just call it the soup.
Soup insight.
The people, but the world is in a soup. It's got all the vegetables. It's got some from exotic countries. It's got all these ingredients and spices and stuff, and it's all swirling around in a big can. And it's a bandwidth of experience that we're experiencing. And in this soup, they're all in this like sorority or fraternity. It's called Sigma Phi Nothing, where it's all going on, but everything's equal to everything else. Therefore, there's no direction.
There's so much of it. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's the flood of frequency.
when you were with your dad, it was up and then down, but now there's no down. It's just always up in front of you, and not just one up, but like all different ones. So it's just more like this. You feel like a propeller in a fan.
And that's a bewilderment and a bamboozle.
Yeah, exactly.
and it keeps everybody out of balance.
And almost a hypnotic way.
Oh, yes. That's why these things are so addictive. Like right now, it's like a few years ago, it was like something happened. Wow,
Mhm.
something happened. And then something else happened. Oh, something else happened in this funny timeline. But have you noticed how things keep happening and things don't get resolved?
It's a perpetual state of unresolvedness right now. And
Right.
we accept it.
It's
So if
interesting.
we accept it as reality, then we're checked out because it's not reality. It's just what's happening on the stage. And it has a certain level of importance. And it is the human world that we're living in as humans. But like you said, it's not our soul reality. And it's not what defines this soul and all souls. It's just a lot of
Noise.
yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of people farting at the same time.
Yeah. To represent that in terms of a energetic cul-de-sac. And people are creating their own realities within this suit, right? When you step back from the stills and get their frames in a movie, and you keep stepping back from it, right? That it is a frequency bandwidth, but there's higher frequency bandwidths above it.
Yeah.
So one understanding or analogy about being a human is you're a radio, right? And you're a receiver and a transmitter, and you're addicted to a certain frequency bandwidth. Now, I think one of the continuums in me is that I'm not satisfied with your answer, and that so many people have pushed the envelope of experience forward. They've enlarged it, right? But the soup has enveloped it. It's all in the soup now, right? It's behind us, right? So the real spiritual warfare is about the warriors in this are those who are pushing the envelope, understanding, striving to get in the next bandwidth of understanding. So when you step into a higher bandwidth of understanding, you get a very different perspective of where you've been.
Yes.
And you got to forgive yourself for where you've been, but you also have to value. That's why it's very important always be adding more white stock. And these are you start vetting, grading what you're bringing in. You actually decide that you have a standard of how you go on, not only what you think, but how you think,
Yeah.
how you interact in the world. Now, when people say the relationship, the electromagnetic relationship between human beings and the earth, right, is we both have auras. We both have a life expression, right? And the planet, so the head is solar, the torso is earth, is planetary, right? The expendable ray is from the waist down, okay? So sun, planet, moon. And it's really nice of the planet to look after us, just as excuse me, I almost had a heart attack because I almost forgot to think about keeping my heart beating. This is an automatic system and it's a grace, right?
Yeah. Grace.
And it can take you around the place and collect more examples of red, white, blue, yellow, and green, right? And that'll feed this, right? It's a system. But in a lot of ways, we've been held back from profit in the game.
Okay, you lost me on that one. Hold back from the profit.
Well, creation, there's this thing, it's called creation economics. And it goes along and like any grand experiment, it invests in probabilities or potentialities or opportunities, right? Then it keeps putting energy, right? And like creation says, more daffodils, right? So how much energy does it take to make a daffodil? And you say 80 units. So the daffodil gets 80 units and that lets it grow and everything, right? Until it gets a flower, right? It has a flower, it's got its own source of sustenance, right? Water, light, chlorophyll, it all comes together, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, but these plants tend to reproduce themselves. A good investment. And in the end, the return to creation is creation invested 80 units of force. The daffodil produced and matched it. So this is a profitable enterprise.
Okay.
Because everything in life is an investment from force. right? Now, human beings, I mean, I've been having some interesting experiences with plants lately, just any old tree or bush. And I start talking to them, and damn, they respond. There's intelligent life there, right?
Yeah. I talk to plants too.
Yeah, but what's weird is when they start responding. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of people that talk to God, but as soon as God responds, you have to go to the funny farm. So what kind of investment are you? If I'm God, why should I invest in you? What you got to offer? What are you growing? Which plant are you? And by
Oh,
the way, if you bring flowers to somebody that's sick in the hospital, you know what flowers anagrams to? Is wolfers, right? Flowers are wolfers. And those pretty flowers, they're attractors.
yeah.
By in force for their own benefit. So if you're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
take flowers to a sick person, hold on to the flowers and poke the stems at them. They'll become a magnifier of healing force from you to them.
That's
Yeah,
a good idea. Okay.
but that's about design, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Here's a real life example of just what comes to mind from what you were just sharing about creation economics. So last year, before the winter hit, had a few nasturtiums, our grandma's favorite flower. So in her honor, I threw a few seeds of nasturtiums in the greenhouse and they did okay. So I was cleaning out the greenhouse and there was one nasturtium that was hanging in there. I think it had broken or something, it was wilted, and it was probably going to just die as the rest of them had. But for some reason, I took that one. I was probably not going to make it. And I put part of the stem under a rock in the ground in the greenhouse. And it went through the whole winter like that. So we were away for a couple of weeks, got home last Friday. If you go in the greenhouse right now, the whole greenhouse, including coming out the cracks on the corners and the door, the greenhouse, are full. This nasturtium has taken over the whole greenhouse, the whole left side, and the floor. I had to pick it up off the floor and wire it up so it could go to the back. It
Wow.
just exploded with life. And I felt like the message for me is never give up.
Don't
And
interfere.
life is more powerful than you can fathom. Because
Right.
what I put under the rock in my physical eyes didn't have a chance. But I thought, just in case, I'll just put it under there. In case it wants to fight to live. And there it is. It's
Well-
got the whole half of the greenhouse is full of one nasturtium.
And they're edible.
We eat them. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw someone do this. When I pick
On
them,
your salad.
I put them in my mouth until I can get them into the water because they look delicate. They taste real peppery and whatnot. But yeah, that nasturtium has taught me a lot.
So let's just wrap up here for a minute, because I think that in our dialogue, all kinds of things come up that are in the field.
Yeah.
They're like smart fairies that want to join in with a party. And it's never the same twice. But I've come to know that if we start on the floor and start playing with some blocks, we can build cathedrals of understanding and connecting the dots of importances. And this shared analogy that we started about, I am but a reed in the weave of the basket that holds life.
Yes.
And what happens is when we, like Jesus said, being childlike, it's not overly complicated. It's play. I love the idea of being at play in the fields of the Lord,
Yes.
because we're just playing with these blocks down here on this ball that's pretty insignificant in the grandeur of the whole creation. But I think it really is the human job to get to the next bandwidth. Because just when we started about the analogy of coming in from a womb and the threshold of experience of you have no clue, you must go forward.
Yes.
And that's an individual expression, but collectively, there's a collective knowing of we've outgrown this womb or this chrysalis and this cocoon. And we're right on this edge of new revelation, of the new revealing of what creation is about. I'm just going to cap it with this one thing. In a near-death experience, standing in space with an archangel on each side looking at the earth, and she was covered, and she's known as the Blue Princess, and she's absolutely unique. piece of the creation, absolutely unique. And I looked at it and it was covered in smog. You could barely see her. And it was heartrending because it was disconnecting it from this smog was disconnecting it from the creation. And the smog was made up of was the result of wrongful human process. That shows you how powerful humans are. They can smog a planet. Never mind the physical pollution, but the electromagnetic pollution and all of these things that have come in to try and block what's trying to happen here. And it was heartrending. And I just felt the heaviest of grief. And that reminds me of my dad. I remember because he was very much involved in educating about climate change.
I know.
And I went to visit him once and he was sitting at the kitchen table and he was just like this. He was weeping because all of the evidence in the studies he had done said that we're done.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and with tears in his eyes and he said, we're too late. And what came up in me was, no, we're not too late. We're right on time for the next revelation. And so anyway, but back to the angels,
Yes.
it was the same kind of thing. The angels wept as well. And then they said, we're showing you this because you've done the work, which was, I've done my pentagrammic studies. I've looked into I've got a pretty good understanding after almost 70 years of being on the planet, what it's about. And they looked at it. And so we were in the same state of pain. And then they said to me, because of what the human soul spirit is destined to become, the earth is being granted a new domain. And the new domain is made of the new light. And with that, we were looking at the earth and the pollution around it. Here's the earth. So we're looking at the earth. It was covered in smog. As soon as they said new domain, aura, 1,000, aura was as big as the solar system.
Wow.
And that's the new domain. And it's absolutely pure potentiality. And they said, because of what the human soul spirit is to become, you are being granted a new domain. And then just a little while later, they popped back and they said, the new domain is made of the new light. And what is light? What is light? And they showed it to me. They showed me this new light. And it was like a hologram that you couldn't, it was on one hand, it was so simple. It was so simple you couldn't get your mind around it. It was not understandable. You could feel it. So it was the all and everything. It was like the next bandwidth is about being with this new light, not individually, but as a collective, as a planetary expression. And so they had this new light. And then what they did is they kind of shoved it into my chest. So they put the new light in my heart. And it's my task is to keep that new light, keep it alive, generate well-being, just shut up and radiate. The headspace in people is moving so hot and fast
Yes.
that the presence of someone who's smiling and in well-being is a medicine.
Yeah.
I'm done herding cats. I guess the new evangelicals just sit around and glow.
That's nice. I like that.
But that's because it's about surrender. And if you say, what's the best this, that, what do you say? It has nothing to do with what I have to say. What my concern is staying out of the way of what is. Being a vehicle for something, I'm pretty boring on my own. If I get out of my own way, it's, wow, how did I do that good painting? You weren't all personally involved about it. You just did it. Stay out of the way. It's when you think about the power that the creation is and how small people's perception is about this funny notion they call God, and how this God has become this heavy thing that you're supposed to be. It's like, I'm a God-fearing person, good God-fearing? What's that all about? They've bought into the separation rather than the I am.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been my journey for the last 10 plus years is
Lives.
unlearning and unlearning some more. But for me, what made a difference is when some light being tapped me on the shoulder and said, okay, check it out, Ms. Bible student, insert the word separation into all those scriptures that I have memorized. Instead of sin, put separation.
Sin is an archery term. Sin to the right, sin to the left. It's like
That's
missing.
right. I missed the mark. In my mental experience and belief. It was with sin, without sin, with, without, damned, forgiven, hell, heaven. It was this dance. And then when it was suggested that I process through, it's not the sin, it's the illusion of separateness. That for me, that's what kind of just blew up the whole play on the stage. Oh, wow. It's like the movie projector malfunctioned. And it took actually years between starting to contemplate and working it through and processing and whatnot. I guess in the terms of the pentagram, it took years for me to get that insulation and build up the capacity to step out of that paradigm. And even as I stepped out, I still had fear and trembling. And of course, there were a lot of tsunamis in my life from coming into that different way of seeing. Yeah, liberation, freedom, lightness, so much that I felt I needed to carry in order to be a worthy human just dissolved.
You're damn worthy as far as I can tell.
You too, cuz.
I think we're in really exciting times. There are laws, and the laws are there to say what can and cannot appear in this ecology, in the Earth School, right?
In the Earth School.
Yeah. Because we come down here, we come from the all one intelligence understanding, and then we sign on the dotted line in the tiny print that you won't remember a thing. Have a good time. And
I
then
know,
we come
it
down
seems
here
so
and
unfair.
come down here and poke around, and we have to find out about it all over on our own. And then we earn experience.
And then we finally get it, and it's time to check out again or get closer.
That's why it's so exciting. It's, wow, what's the next threshold experience where I get to surrender what I think and experience the new light? And that's the collective, like Yogananda. Someone asked him, I think he even wrote a book about it. Someone asked Yogananda, what's meant by the second coming of Christ? And his response was in the way of when the human collective unconscious becomes aware of itself.
Yeah.
So we're in community and physicality. And a lot of times we strive for community in spirit, but that's an individual. I'm a person, you're a person. Yes, we have spirit. But what I'm talking about is the organism of humanity awakening to the next level, the next frequency bandwidth. And that's the great work of our time.
When you say certain things, it's like a corn kernel goes poof and pops. But
Watching a movie, sell popcorn.
yeah. Yeah. So we need popcorn. For decades, the process has up-leveled more and more since this began, but it's all about seeing Christ in whoever, whatever I look at, to see Christ in that person.
The other result of dying and coming back was I was in the hospital, and I don't know exactly when this happened. I think I just was in some process of dying, and I opened my eyes and I didn't see people. I just saw columns of light. And I didn't see the details of their egos or their expression. I just saw light.
Yeah.
And human beings are light.
There you go.
And they're all beautiful. We're all light. And when we die, we go back to the big party.
Yeah.
And they're saying, you went on safari. What did you bring back?
And where's the trophies?
Yeah, where are the trophies?
Yeah. And my similar experience a little bit is seeing myself as one flame in the fire. And then I saw myself go separate from the fire and come back into the fire again and again. And as I inquired, I came to know that I am one flame in the fire. And if I'm ever feeling weak or running out, just come back in the fire, because that's who I am.
Right.
That's what we all are. We're all flames in the fire. We are all light.
What was it when I just remember like images of the apostles and they all had a flame over their head?
That was
Pentecost.
the Holy Spirit flame.
The Holy Spirit. Wild.
The burning wildfire.
I always love the idea as humans as candles.
Yeah.
And they're giving light. And where our lifetime is, I have a candle over there. And it's got to be 2 feet long. And that's a long meditation.
There you go. Yeah. Sacred flame,
Yeah.
each and all.
And then just all those analogies.
They're
the
precious.
recognition that the job is to be pushing up against that envelope, moving past history. One of the first commandments is return to the source of your arising. And that's a great energy. That's a great urge and power and directive from creation to return to the source of your arising of creation.
I love
And,
that.
that's that incredible love affair.
Yeah, that is like the flame coming back into the fire for me.
I feel like we just got started. This is just a little bit.
What I get myself from the conversation is we're talking about navigating the energetics of our time. It's super important that we start with the hardware and maybe have an understanding on why this is so important. I think what you said somewhere in the conversation about running electricity is that if there's not enough insulation, it's too hot and we can't hold the electricity that's running through.
I think that in this day and age, there's a lot of people with lots of bits, right? But that's the nature of it. That's the nature of approaches. You collect the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And I think that really important is the intention,
Yes.
because that's the glue that holds the pieces together that makes sense, to make them make sense.
I agree. Yeah.
I can skyrocket a lot, and this is calm, but thing is, if there's a lot of people, it draws in more force. If you put yourself at service of creation, then you better back it up, because you're going to get challenged.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's part of the spiritual warrior way. And
Yeah.
we know that love conquers all.
I'm just going to give them a big old love blast if they get too challenging.
I think I'll make a big club that says love on it. I just show it to people, and they'll sort themselves out just by showing it to them.
I love you, cuz. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Colleen.
Thank you for joining us for this episode, The Next Bandwidth of New Light, to wrap up this intriguing series with Daniel Strawn, Navigating the New Energetics. How are you experiencing the energetic changes happening in the world? What is one step you can take to support your own development, personal, spiritual, or otherwise? I'm Colleen Akiko, Essential Connections Coach and host of this We Be the Change podcast. Reach out, leave a comment, explore more resources, and receive your free e-guide, Out of Your Head into Your Light, at songrise.live. That's SONGRISE.LIVE. You can help keep this podcast ad-free by becoming a subscriber, which also provides you immediate access to bonus content. I'm looking forward to connecting with you soon. Aloha.